Shut the Front Door, we are joined by Alexandria Dauley, founder of Dauley Design, a multi-disciplinary design practice based in London and Surrey. Having spent years working in property as a relocation agent, Alexandra took her combined love of houses and people, deciding to retrain at KLC School of Design to follow her passion for design. Alexandra is one half of the United in Design founding team, a charitable organisation set up to tackle the lack of diversity in the UK design sector. Married to Gareth, a mum of 2 daughters, we are delighted to welcome Alexandra to Shut the Front Door today. Welcome, how are you?
I'm so well. Thank you so much for having me, Arlene. It's a pleasure to be here.
And where are you as we speak? Are you sitting in your office? Are you working from home? I'm trying to visualize where you are in this very moment.
I'm actually in my front room at home.
Okay.
I'm having an admin day today. So I've been on the road for the last couple of weeks and running around various projects and events. And so, today I'm having I say it's a relax. It's a relax with the laptop. So I'm still working. But I'm just sat in my front room.
I know. I so know those days. I have those days. They're not often, but I love them, actually. You kind of feel like you're having a day off, but you're not really. Technically, you're still plugged into something somewhere.
Exactly.
In your home. I understand. And how old are your daughters?
So I've got 2 girls. So Ava is 13. She'll be 14 in December. And then my little one, Zara, she will be turning 11 in November. So 10 and 13 at the moment.
Wow. Okay. So they're in school at the moment.
They are in school, very happy to be back in school and sort of having some semblance of normality to their education. So
yes, and I am sure you are too. It's all good for everyone to be able to return back to a normal kind of life. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it was lovely, all of us being together, even though it was in, quite trying, sad circumstances. But
yes.
They needed to go back, and the juggle was real when they were at home, and we were still trying to work and do homeschooling and stuff. Like so many other families, it was tricky, but we got there.
It was
okay. Yeah,
it's going to be something like when we look back on this time in 20 years from now, it's just going to be like, how did we all survive this? It's incredible, really, how we've all come out of this. Well, please God, we will continue to come out of this soon.
Yeah, indeed.
So I would love to chat with you, if I may, about your first memories of your home. Can you share a little with me of your first memories of home?
Oh, so I mean, so my mum had me, and we lived with my grandparents actually, because my mum was a single mum, and we lived with my grandparents until I was about 7, and it was just such a lovely family environment, very cozy, lots of sort of patterned carpet and alleglypta wallpaper, and the sort of, it was just a really lovely place. There was always lots of food on the go, and just a very comfortable family home. I mean, it wasn't, massively designed, shall we say, but it featured all of the pieces, I suppose, that meant a lot to us as a family, and had sort of, wonderful memories attached to them and linked to them. And so therefore it just felt like a really lovely, safe, comfortable place. And then my mum saved really hard and was able to buy a home for she and I, a little tiny 2-bedroom house, which was really, really sweet. And it's kind of a new build, I suppose, at the time. And she furnished it beautifully. She has such a wonderful eye, which obviously I didn't realise when I was 7, but now I can look back and really appreciate the pieces that she chose. And I know one of the key pieces was a black ash G-plan circular dining table with matching chairs. And I just remember, I mean, obviously it was a beautiful, beautiful piece of furniture, but I kind of remember at the time just thinking, gosh, this is so different to what my friends have got, who all sort of had normal sort of oak and pine tables. And then we had this sort of quite out there black ash table. But I really appreciate now that sort of mum was quite forward thinking, I think, and even in what she wore and things, she was quite the design buff, I suppose. And so, so we were there, and then we moved again into sort of a much bigger house. And then I then moved out and met my now husband, and we kind of lived in a few flats in London, and then bought a house back in 2006, little 2-bedroom house in Streatham. And that was really the first house that I had owned, which I was able to sort of add my own stamp and personality on, I suppose. So we renovated that after a few years. And yeah, that was really the first kind of experience and sort of dipping of a toe into design.
That sounds exciting. And before we jump to that, I wanted to ask you, do you remember how your teenage bedroom walls were decorated? Can you bring me back to that?
Oh, definitely. So I had like a high sleeper with a sofa underneath, which I thought was like super cool. And I had, so what did I have? I had yellow walls. And so I went for a yellow and blue theme because, I mean, now I realize that those colors work really well together. I didn't realize at the time. I think it was just sort of probably luck of the draw. But yeah, I had almost like buttercup yellow wall, so it's quite bright. And then blue accents, so I had like a little blue sofa and bedding, and posters of various boy bands. I think it was like New Kids on the Block, that was a phase. And then I think I had Boyzone on my wall, that was another phase that I kind of went through, and then kind of moved on to some more sort of rap and hip hop in my sort of early teens. But yeah, it was a typical kind of teenage girl's bedroom. Yeah.
And so when did your passion for interiors begin?
I think now I look back, I was always the child that drew, the house with the 4 windows and the door in the middle and the white picket fence. And, I had a doll's house. And so I always loved home, I suppose, and changing things around and moving furniture around and playing with those sort of things and playing house, I suppose, as a child. And then, when I met my husband when I was 19, so I was quite young, and then I moved to London because I used to live in Wales, and so I grew up in Wales, and then he didn't want to live in Wales, so I moved to London. And so the first job that I got when I moved here was in an estate agency. And so I was just doing sort of admin in the estate agency, but I worked across the whole of South London. So I was kind of like a mobile receptionist or admin assistant for about 12 different offices. So I learned to drive. And so I kind of moved around all the way from Acton right the way down to Dulwich. So I got to know London really, really well. And I was always amazed by the architecture that I would be passing. And obviously working in an estate agency, you get to see all of these houses and things. So that really sparked my interest. And then I became a property relocation agent. So I would do home finding for expats who moved to the UK, work for big companies. So again, I was always walking through amazing properties in sort of Virginia Water and on the Wentworth estate and things like that. So that really sparked an interest. And then, as I say, buying our own property, renovating that. I watched every single design show that was ever on television. And I still have just boxes and boxes of magazines that I collected that are scattered across my garage and my loft. So I just always loved it. And then I had my girls, and I went and got a job in a school because I just felt like I just needed something a little bit more kind of low key. I was working really long hours at the relocation agency, but I still love property. And that is when, my husband just said, Alex, I think you can just do more for yourself. You love property. Why don't you go back and retrain and study? And that's what I did.
Gosh, what a story. And so tell me about your college days.
Yeah, so I didn't actually go to university when I left school. I just went straight in and worked. But then and just got lots of work experience, which I think is sort of...
Yeah, like myself.
Yeah, it stood me in good stead, really, and lots of life experience. And
for sure.
And then because I had my children, I was quite young, so like 24 when I had my first daughter, and so just generally just always just had jobs, but never had like a career, I suppose, that I was really invested in and passionate about. And so I went I went to KLC. I kind of researched design schools within London, and I had no links to that particular school, but all the reviews were very positive. And so I went and I sort of did a few introductory courses, and then I undertook a certificate course. And yeah, I mean, on that course, I found it so inspirational. I would go in to the school, and just to be surrounded by other creatives, beautiful portfolios and bodies of work, plus where it was situated, which is in the middle of the design centre in Chelsea Harbour. So,
Yes.
at lunchtime we would go down and have a look in some of the showrooms and things, and I had a fantastic tutor on that course called Evie Dunbavin Hands, and I was the student at the front of the class who always had their hand up and was super keen, and she was almost like, does anyone else have a question? other than Alex. But she could tell that I was really, really keen to learn. And I think because I was older as well, I was sort of 31, 32.
Yes.
I think, for me, it was like a second chance, I suppose, a second chance to do something that I really, really loved to do. So I was really keen. And at the end of the course, she just said, you know what, Alex, I know you really want to do this. Would you like to come and shadow me in my design practice for a couple of days a week, just to get some experience? And obviously I jumped at the chance, and she was so open and willing to share of her experience, good and bad, because obviously you need to know about the mistakes that were made and the rough times, so you can try to avoid those pitfalls if you can, and it's all part of the journey. But yeah, so I did that for quite a while, and she and I are still incredibly close. But I very much credit her with giving me the additional kind of skill set, I suppose, and the business acumen and the practical skills and the confidence to be able to set up my own practice.
Gosh, that was very lucky. That was what I would call a lucky break, actually, for you. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how would you describe your own personal style?
So I'm very, very drawn to sort of Bauhaus modernist kind of architecture. Definitely, the form follows function, and I like contemporary, clean lines, curated pieces, not so much clutter. I love a neutral kind of background, but I also always interject lots of then sort of colour and pattern through, furniture pieces or artwork and soft furnishings and things. And, a lot of bespoke joinery, making sure that everything has a place within the home as well. I like to feel and also create very sort of ordered spaces, I suppose, not minimalist, but just so that you can. I mean, I walk into my own home and immediately feel quite relaxed because there's everything is where it should be. Everything works well, functions well. There's really good flow, and all of the colours kind of speak to me in terms of what I want my mood to be, etc., etc. So. Yeah, it's quite, I suppose, holistic in a way in terms of how I want my clients to feel within the space. I kind of try to always lead with that, because I think then that just, the whole scheme and the design will come from that.
Exactly. And your daughters, do you think you can see a little creative spark in them at this age?
Oh, definitely. They're both incredibly creative. I mean, Ava is a dancer, and she has trained at the Royal Ballet School, and she does contemporary dance. She's part of a contemporary dance company, and is very, very creative in that sense, and loves drama and things. And then Zara would love to be an architect. She is an absolute whiz on the Lego, and I love the fact that she'll take time to make it as the instructions direct, but then she far more prefers breaking it down and then creating her own thing. And she spends a lot of time on Sims creating her own little worlds, and so she's very interested in architecture and building as well.
Excellent. I love that they're so lucky now that they have you as their mom to be able to guide them. You will become their mentor probably now for them in their careers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much one of the mothers who's like, this is your journey and this is your task. And as long as you're happy, I'm very supportive of whatever you'd like to do. And, I will give you, all of the tools that you need to be successful in whatever path you want to follow. And I think it's very important for them just to find their own way. We throw loads of stuff at them and have done since they were tiny, and we're very much like, let's see what sticks and keep doing it as long as you love it. The minute you fall out of love with it or you don't want to do it anymore, then that's fine, move on to the next thing.
Yes, I have my little 2-year-old, I can see has a definite creative flair, and she loves painting.
Fantastic.
I know, and drawing, and it's so exciting to see that because she really wants to do it.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think if they can have a passion for something, then it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the magic begins.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are the co-founder of United in Design, which is a charitable organization set up to tackle the lack of diversity in the UK sector. So this is just incredible. Can you tell us how the organization came about and your hopes for it all as we enter 2022?
Yeah, so it all started last year after the murder of George Floyd, and the sort of worldwide kind of outcry and spotlight was well and truly sort of firmly back on race relations and the injustices that people of color face day in, day out, just going, along with their everyday lives. And obviously, in industry and in business as well, and the disparities that feature. And so many companies within our industry sort of spoke out and put black squares on their Instagram. And, it's very evident within the sector that, there's a distinct lack of diversity and inclusion. But I couldn't really see anybody taking action, because I just felt like this is a moment in time where we can really garner the mood and the feeling to make actual change. So I didn't know anybody really within the industry at a level where I felt could really make an impact. So I just reached out to them on Instagram. I just sent them lots of messages. Anybody who put a black square on, I sent a message to and said, look, I've got an idea. Can I run it past you? And they, all said yes. So I had a really, really fantastic meeting with Hatta Bing and David Nichols from House and Garden. And I pitched my idea, which was, the fact that my daughter had done ballet, and she got into ballet because of an outreach program that was run by the Royal Opera House and the Royal Ballet School to bring ballet to communities that maybe wouldn't have normally considered that as sort of an art form for them to follow. So I knew that community outreach worked. You need to go into these communities to say this is an option for you. And also my own experience of mentoring and how positive that had been. So I kind of had these two ideas, and I pitched, and they said, this sounds great. And they said, oh, well, we've actually had similar conversations with another designer called Sophie Ashby. And I didn't know Sophie. I knew of her, but I didn't know her personally. And they just said, look, I really feel like the two of you have got some fantastic synergy. Let us sort of, form an introduction. And so they did. And we chatted, Sophie and I, via Zoom, because it was in the middle of a lockdown. And she and I just hit it off. And so we very quickly realised that in order to fulfill what we wanted to achieve, it would probably need to be a charity. Neither of us had ever run a charity, nor had we ever thought of running a charity or setting something up like this. But we felt very strongly that somebody needed to do it. And, why not us? We feel very passionate about it. And, if it's passion alone and drive, then we've got this. So we very quickly kind of got together a little group of trustees and the steering committee and people that were on our same wavelength and just wanted to make a change. And we have 7 pledges. And companies and businesses and individuals need to commit to 3 of those 7 pledges. And they are things like to always make sure that your hiring practices are fair and transparent, and they reach a wide net, and you cast the net wider, and you don't just recruit from the same places all the time, because then you just get identikit applicants. Making sure that that all of your marketing is also diverse, and that it speaks to lots of different sort of genders, cultures, race, etc. And then there's the more practical things, such as mentoring, offering to be a mentor to somebody. We have a fantastic apprenticeship scheme. So this past year, we've had 5 apprentices.
Wow.
And the idea of the apprenticeship scheme is that we have 4 companies, and they're put into a pool, and then they provide 3 months of training to that one apprentice. So that one apprentice will then come out with a year's worth of experience across 4 different companies. And they're paid £22,000 for the year, which is prorated across the companies. I think it works out £5,500 per company. So it's, for the companies that we've got involved, that's a very manageable amount of money.
Yes.
And the apprentices are, getting this fantastic year's worth of experience. The networking opportunities to work in 4 different practices
Definitely
is just invaluable. And they are doing so well. I'm just so proud of them. The talent is just ridiculous. I mean, they are so driven and so focused and so talented that they just needed the opportunity. They just needed somebody just to open the door. I've not needed to do anything else. None of us have needed to do anything else, because they're very much, they're on their own path, and they know that they've got this year to really grasp hold of and go for it. And I'm just so happy to report that they are absolutely flying. And they're doing so well. So, we've got plans for our youth outreach element of the program. And I think the whole idea of the charity is that it's a pathway, and it's bookended from start to finish. So, we will be talking to young people and putting on events for young people to really push a career within the creative sector to young people, so that we're capturing them young. And then as they move through their journey, we're able to offer support with, education and things like that. We're able to offer support through mentorship when they're on their courses. And when they finish their course, we're able to offer them an apprenticeship place. And then when they finish their apprenticeship placement in a few years, if they then decide to want to go into business, we also have sort of like a business hub as well, where they're able to access help and support and advice in how to set up business. And things. So it's very much it's holding a hand, I suppose, from start to finish.
That is absolutely amazing. Well done. That really is. In my company, we have a team of over 60 employees from countries and backgrounds all over the world. So we, that creative mixture of different cultures and what they can all bring to the table. And for us, it's just been so key in our growth.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I go to visit the apprentices at the midway point through each of their placements, and all of the businesses, bar none, have said, these young people are changing the way in which we look at our businesses. The talent and skill set that they're bringing in, it has far outweighed our expectation of where we thought a graduate would be. And so a lot of the time it's just for businesses to open up their minds to a different type of applicant. If you hire from the same places all of the time, you will most likely get an identikit applicant, because a lot of the design schools that these more high-end sort of design practices hire from, they are incredibly expensive. I mean, I know one design school, their fees are, about £18,000 more for the course than a sort of a normal sort of BA course. So that automatically cuts out a huge swathe of people that just cannot afford to go to those design schools. And so if companies are only then hiring from those design schools, then you're
Yes.
missing out on a huge amount of talent that are actually in the normal universities. So it's just about opening up that recruitment.
Yeah, no, excellent. I love it. And have you branched out outside of the UK at all? Have you spoken to other countries in Europe, or do you see this growing? And
Yeah, we would love for it to grow. We have had conversations with people in South Africa. We've had conversations with people in America who would love to take it over there. We've also had conversations with other industry within the UK, so fashion, art, jewelry. Because what we've created is a model that's quite easily replicated across other industry and in other countries as well. I think the beauty of it is in its simplicity. It's essentially people giving of their time and opening up their doors to new talent, and that's basically it. You know, we kind of orchestrate everything on behalf of all the businesses, so there isn't really anything that they need to do other than they wouldn't be normally doing with a normal internship, if that makes sense. It's just that we're giving them this whole pool of new talent. So yeah, we would love for it to grow, and for it not just to be within interior design. I mean, we purposely called it United in Design because this is an issue that exists across the whole of the design sector, if not all of the creative sector, if not all across most industries. So, you know, I think it is something that other industries could look at and work with us and try to model.
yes, you just seem so strong and confident. Where do you get your strength from? Where do you think that comes from within you?
I think probably my mum. I think she's a very, very strong woman herself. You know, she raised me on her own. She worked incredibly hard. She was always very, very driven. She has such integrity in everything that she does. And she, you know, she will always fight for what is right. And she will always call out anything that is not as it should be. And, which, you know, sometimes doesn't make people popular, I suppose. But you know, you have to. She's always taught me, you know, Alex, you know, you put your head above the parapet and you speak out in a way that will make people listen. I'm very mindful that, you know, we have to have dialogue. We have to keep the conversations flowing. You can be firm but fair. And so she's always kind of taught me that. And I think if you believe in something, then, you know, it's having that courage and conviction, isn't it? It's, you know, I believe so much in what we're doing. And, you know, I adore my business and I love my business, and my business is growing. And that for me personally is fantastic. But for me, you know, the legacy will definitely be the charity, because, you know, I can help hundreds of people. We can help hundreds of people and really change the face of an entire industry. And that to me is you know, far more special than anything I could kind of achieve for myself from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you work a lot with families. So what do you find are the key elements needed when devising a design plan for a family home?
I love working with families. I think they're probably my favorite clients because there's so many different sort of facets and things that you need to look out for. I mean, the biggest thing the family say to me is, you know, things aren't functioning well. We have a lack of storage. Storage is, you know, is key. And at the moment as well, it's like the whole privacy issue as well. So everyone loved open plan living, didn't they? And, you know, I'm a big fan of open plan living, but God, I can't tell you the amount of walls I've put back up over last year.
I know.
And, you know, I'm dividing spaces back up again because people, you know, they like to be all together and have a space where they can be together. But, you know, people are really valuing their privacy as well.
Yes.
And so I think with families, it's about listening to each individual, what their individual needs are, and then trying to create a space within the home that speaks to those individuals. So everybody feels included within the home. Materiality is huge as well for families. Obviously, it depends who's in the family, whether they've got pets, etc., etc. But most families want materials that are going to last, that are hard wearing, that obviously look beautiful, but that are practical as well for family life, and to incorporate a design that will grow with their family as you know, as their children grow, or you know, their needs change. You know, so it's about having the foresight to be sort of installing designs that will grow with them as well.
Exactly. And we can't forget our little furry friends either, our
We
pets.
cannot. I mean, I have two cats who are basically like just additional children. They are so
know.
spoiled. I love them so much. They pretty much have the run of the whole house. Like, I don't mind where they go. They do sleep downstairs though, but you know, they've scratched some of my furniture. You know, they're pretty good. They are pretty good. But I'm not too precious about it. You know, they are part of the family, and it's nothing that can't be replaced. But,
True.
you know, you do have to be mindful in terms of the materials you're going to put in. And I think you need to be a little bit more relaxed. If you have pets, you know, don't be putting in anything that you're going to be devastated if
exactly
if a claw or some drool goes on it.
Yeah. Exactly. I get asked all the time, you know, about that with pets. What can I do? I have a dog. What can I do? I can't have this rug. I want this fabric on the sofa. And so, yeah, it just makes that project a little more challenging when you have to consider all those elements.
Definitely.
But there are ways around it.
There are. Wipe clean surfaces, put a zip in everything, washable fabrics.
Yep.
Make sure the loop is not too big on any carpet or pile of rug, and, you know, so they can't be pulled. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So throughout the pandemic, well-being has been at the forefront of all of our minds. Do you feel that good design can bring a feeling of contentment into our lives and how we live our lives just generally?
Oh, hugely. I mean, we actually renovated the house that we're living in now in 2019, and we built a garden office. And the whole house was complete and finished and beautiful. And then obviously we moved in the November, and then in the March it was, you know, lockdown. And like, I remember just saying to Gareth, oh my gosh, you know, the power of, you know, hindsight. But this house definitely kept us sane. Just the whole aesthetic, the fact that it was really, really ordered. We knew where everything was. There was a space we had obviously the dedicated office space at the back, which meant we could continue working away from home. The girls had desks in their rooms. We had another kind of workstation that I built in the sort of open plan kitchen area. All of the colors were really kind of calming and stuff. Yeah. We had loads of plants. We had the garden done, and I was like, this is why it's so important to create like a sanctuary in your home.
Yes.
Because who would have known that only a few months later we would have just been in this house for all of those months?
I know.
But, you know, I mean, all of my clients, well, most of my clients lead with, we need to change this house because it makes me feel. So it's always about the feeling. They never say to me, oh, it's this color, it's this couch, it's this room, or this house makes me feel a certain way. So I don't think it can be understated, the power of good design and how that has a direct impact on your sense of well-being. It is really, really important that you create a space which allows you to work, to function, to live, just to breathe. And yeah.
Do you feel that the pandemic actually enhanced your business? Did your phone just start ringing more than ever before because people were spending more time at home?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think most people within the sort of residential sector has seen a huge uplift in inquiries and work. You know, we spent months looking at four walls. Our homes needed to function in a way that they've probably never needed to function before in our lifetime. And suddenly it was like work, school, recreation, gym. all within the space that,
I know.
a lot of the time you would get up, you would go to work, you would come home, have your dinner and go to bed.
Yes.
Suddenly you were in this space with your family
I know.
all of the time. That's a huge shock to the system. And all those things that people were maybe putting off doing, and all the things that weren't issues before, suddenly were like staring you in the face.
Yes, I know. I've been reading a lot about broken plan living, which I think I've just been kind of doing that anyway for years, but it seems to be like a new thing. I'm sure you've been doing it for years as well.
I'm a huge fan of broken plan
Yeah.
because I'm a huge fan of options.
Yes, exactly.
It just gives you options to close spaces down, open them up. It just works really well.
Yeah. But that, like, a lot of people have benefited from that maybe didn't have it before, perhaps just lived in kind of open plan spaces, and then suddenly they needed to identify their space, where, for example, where their teenagers could do their homework. Where's that space? Where could they have their space to maybe do a workout or read a book or do their work? It was just nuts. It was a crazy, crazy time.
It was. It really was.
Very challenging, but we all got through it. Hopefully.
We did. We did.
And so, what were the other really big challenges your business faced during the pandemic, apart from working at home?
I think obviously in the first wave, construction was stopped. So that meant any projects that we were working on, we needed to sort of just shut the sites down. Supply was a huge issue and still continues to be a massive issue, actually, in terms of materials. The cost of materials has just gone through the absolute roof. So
hasn't it? It's just crazy.
Just so awful. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost having to say to my clients now, when we give, because we used to give a quote for the build, because I do design and build, so we manage everything from concept to completion. So we would give a quote, and that would be the quote. Whereas now we're having to say, actually, I need to give you an estimate, and because the prices of things are moving, so quickly, and you're almost having to factor in a contingency at the start for material costs.
I know.
Not at the end.
I know.
So it's a totally different way of working, and just the expectation setting for clients as well.
Totally.
It's obviously, you want to be able to fulfill what you've said in terms of the time and the budget. But, from day one, we're now needing to say, do you know what, we're going to work really, really hard to achieve this for you. However, there are, things at play which are totally out of our control, and we just have to ride it out and see what happens. But I'm just pre-warning you, there may be a few, bumps in the road.
To say the least. And I find, and it's really hard because a lot of our clients just want it all done, for a certain special occasion or at a certain time. And you're trying to just promise them that delivery date that you could maybe 2 years ago. But it's just all changed now. It's really, really hard. There's so many variables and things are changing, and your supply chain is not what it used to be. And it's just really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that I always have a project every year that runs from sort of September to Christmas. Like, that's just, we finish our summer and then we do a nice little project for maybe like 12 weeks. Yeah. And this year I purposely did not take one on. Because we always say, well, we'll be out by the 6th of December. And then invariably I'm still there on the 23rd of December trying to dress the house around somebody's Christmas tree. And I just said, you know what, I'm not actually going to do that to myself this year. Because it's always stressful anyway, without now adding all of these supply chain issues in. And I couldn't confidently say to those clients, we're going to be out of your hair for Christmas. So I was like, it's not fair to them. It's not fair to me. And so I'm literally winding up a project next week.
Smart
and then
girl.
that's me. That's me till January.
You are a smart girl. I'm telling you.
I've been bitten before, Arlene. I'm not doing that again.
And it's so hard because you've got people saying, "Oh my God, we're ready now. Let's do it." And, when you're meeting them, and some of these conversations have started in July, you just know it's not going to happen. And you're trying to manage their expectations, at that point. But they're already visualizing Christmas trees and candles lit. And you're like, oh God, there's so much to do before now and then. So
yeah, because there was the whole spike over here with the stamp duty holiday thing.
yes.
So lots of those properties have obviously now completed, and so they're all desperate to get started on their renovations. Yeah. And I'm just having to say, next year. We just need to do it. We just need to do it next year. You will not be in for Christmas. Yeah. Maybe Christmas 22.
Yes.
But not exactly. This one.
Well, that's what I call proper management of expectations right there. That's great. And did Brexit have any kind of big impact on your business, or how have you found that?
Yes, it has, because my wonderful, wonderful contractors are from Poland, and they are fantastic. I mean, I consider them to be family, and they're wonderful. However, the core group has stayed. But if we need to recruit more, more trades, it's really, really hard because lots of people have gone back home. And obviously supply as well of things. I talk about supply again, but with the whole lorry driver shortage and stuff. I mean, yes. We used to have, even with our trade accounts where we have next day delivery, that's not guaranteed anymore. So, because they just don't have the drivers to bring the products to site. So, yeah, we're definitely seeing a direct impact, and on the cost of materials as well. And, we're having to now source nearly everything from the UK, which is fantastic, and I would much prefer to do that anyway. But we used to have tiles and things coming from Spain and Italy, and we just can't do that anymore. So and fabrics and things from abroad. So we have to be quite mindful now to is it British manufactured? And does that company hold stock?
Yeah.
And a lot more companies are holding stock now. So it's changing the way in which they're working as well, because they didn't they used to make to order or just have very, very small amounts of stock. But now to keep up with demand, they're having to take on, a whole nother lot of risk, I suppose, by holding stock. But that's the only way that they're going to be able to fulfill the orders.
That's true. Or we're also finding in Ireland that a lot of the fabric houses we would have dealt with in the UK, like there's certain colours that everyone's reaching for. And they are the ones that are just always out of stock.
Yes.
And it's just super challenging. So I just think they need to bulk buy. Everyone needs to review the way their business model is working.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And a lot of UK companies, I think fabric houses are moving, additional factories out into Italy or Poland or other countries in Europe, just to give them that safeguard to keep things moving and flowing. Yeah. Because it's just been tricky. It's been a tricky transition.
It has been a very tricky transition. And the way, we as interior designers, we have our preferred suppliers and the go-tos, which you could always depend upon. And, obviously they're trying their level best. It's not a bad thing, I suppose, because you do then need to open up your eyes to other suppliers. So it's not, and I've found some great new products and things, from doing that. And
I know, just by default, you're like, hey, this is
by default, because you have to. So
no, it's all good. It probably, like they say, there's a silver lining in every cloud. So
indeed,
it is. So tell me, what has been your favorite project that you've ever worked on to date?
Oh gosh, that's so hard.
I know.
Because every single project I do, I go, oh, this is my favorite.
I know.
The next one's the favorite.
But tell me, what makes it the favorite? Is it the people? Was it the journey? Was it the project? Like, even define that for me.
I feel like every project is then my new favorite because I feel like I've pushed myself more in each project. So I can see growth in myself as a designer in each project. So, I always try to do something a little bit different, or try a new technique, or try a new material. I can genuinely say all my clients are lovely. I've been incredibly lucky because I know that isn't always the case, but my clients are very, very nice, and we always have a lot of fun when we're working on the projects. I think sometimes the ones that give me the most pleasure are the little teeny tiny ones. So the small flats, which, you know, are tricky. Maybe the angles are a little bit awkward and, you know, you couldn't really foresee what you could fit in there. And then you have to design multifunctional furniture and, you know, those challenges. I see that as a huge challenge. And sometimes as well, working with like tight budget. I know that sounds ridiculous.
Yes.
But, you know, if somebody has, you know, stacks and stacks of money, then obviously there's a lot more choice. But when somebody's working, you know, still got a good budget, but this is the budget.
Yes.
You have to be really inventive with what you can do and the materials that you're using. So I think those are the ones which give me the most joy, because those particular clients will never expect that budget or that particular property could ever look like it does at the end.
I know. And do you find that it's even more challenging sometimes, though, when the budget is bigger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more choice.
That's right.
There's so much more choice. And I think people are able to change their mind on things and switch it up. And whereas, you know, when the budgets are smaller, you can say, look, this is actually the very, very best that we can do for this budget. And they're always absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about getting that phone call 6 months later from my clients, because we all still keep in touch, and they'll always say, you know, God, what a change the way we live. Kids are so much happier. Wife so much happier. And it's just those practical things and how they're using the space. And sometimes I go back and I visit them and they'll have added things to it. And then that's nice as well, because you can see how they're personalizing the space as well. And it's lovely.
Yeah. And I'm sure you get this, I'm sure you get asked this question all the time. But what do you find easier? Did you find designing your own home easier than your clients, or your clients easier than your own home?
I found designing my own house easier.
Okay.
Because I'm the client. So I knew exactly what I wanted. So we lived next door to this particular house for 3.5 years. So I knew this house inside out when we bought it. And I had a whole folder of exactly what the house was going to look like, all the materials, all the colours. I mean, God forbid, if anything had happened to me, this house would still have looked exactly as it does today, because it was mapped out to the last minute detail. And so for me, when I design for myself, there's no compromise. Does that make sense?
Yes.
For me, I'm like, I can do what I would like to do, and you know, I don't need to compromise. I don't need to curtail my vision in any way. And I'm very lucky that Gareth is, you know, we've got quite similar taste anyway. I like quite masculine things and colours and things like that. And he is, you know, the same, likes clean lines. And so he very much lets me just get on with it, which is good.
Yeah. What's your star sign?
I'm Capricorn.
Oh, me too.
Oh, fab.
I love it. And what's your date of birth?
4th of Jan.
Oh, I'm the 30th of December.
Yeah. We're all winter.
Yeah, we're winter babies.
It's really strange. Like my whole family's winter. So like Gareth's November, and so is Zara, and then Ava's December, and then I'm Jan.
Whoa!
I know, and my mum is November, and my brothers and sisters, they're like all that end of.
Gosh.
You know, so my step brothers and sisters are all kind of that end as well.
Autumn winter babies.
Yes.
So, but you're quite headstrong then. So you are quite decisive.
Oh God, yeah. I am decisive, and very decisive. I would say. Well, I'm working on. I know, it's like, how much do I say? I'm working on taking direction. My husband says I'm dreadful at that. I'm dreadful at being told what to do. And that's something I probably do need to work on. To be honest, it's the reason why I changed my business model, because I used to do design and just design and sort of hand the design over to the client and then just pray and hope for the best that they executed it as I wanted them to. And I just wasn't getting any satisfaction out of that at all. And so I changed and pivoted so that I did design and build. purely because then I could have control over the whole process from start to finish. And it's a hell of a lot more work. But for me, it was, I know how this is going to look. I know the quality. I can control the process for the client and the service that they're going to get. And at the end of it, I have a project that I'm really proud of that is beautiful, that's going to enhance my portfolio as well as being the best project for the client possible.
Yeah.
But Gareth will definitely say it's just because I wanted full control over the whole thing.
But like, I bet you just know when you know, and you know when something's right and when something's wrong. So when you know something is absolutely the only road that client should go down, and they're not sure, or if they disagree with you, how do you handle that?
I just feel like if you could have done this for yourself, I wouldn't be sitting here. You know, you obviously feel in yourself that, you know, this is too big a project for you. You need a professional. So I want to work with you. This is very collaborative. But I'm going to advise you from a professional standpoint, and I will never put anything into your home that, I mean, I always live like, I would never put anything in here that I kind of wouldn't be happy to have myself in my own property, in terms of the level of quality and finish and things like that. So that's how I approach each project. And I mean, I'm a very friendly person anyway. So, and I always say to them, you know, ultimately this is your house. This is your home. Totally. I'm just here because I have the training and the professional expertise to make this the best house it can be. But, you know, this is a journey that we are on together.
Yes.
So we need to have open dialogue. You know, you need to tell me what you like, what you don't like, what we need to tweak here and there, because I want you to walk in at the end and go, oh, I love it. There's nothing I could change, because I'm going to leave and I'm going to go back to my house and you have to stay here. So I need to know that you love it. Exactly. But just trust me. Just trust me. It's my job to push you a little bit, because I'm going to see things that you wouldn't have seen. I'm going to see potential in things that maybe you wouldn't have picked up on. But let's just go with it. Let's just go with it. And I promise you it will be exactly as you want it at the end.
And do you carefully select who you work with? Are you part of that, you know, or are you very open to working with everyone and anyone, or are you hands-on on who you work with?
Yeah, like my clients, it's mostly like organic reach. Lots of people contact me via Instagram, and then lots of people will just be word of mouth or recommendation. My tutor, the first thing she said to me on the first day that I went to her practice was, Alex, don't be afraid to say no. And that has just resonated with me, because like she said, you spend a hell of a lot of time with these people for months and months and months. And so you have to have a good working relationship with them. And so when you have the initial consultation, you know, just go with your gut. If something's niggling you, then just listen to that niggle, because most of the time you're right. So I'm not afraid to kind of say no if I feel like either we're just not a good fit together, the client and I, or maybe there's something that is just not sitting with me in terms of their expectation, married to the budget, married to the time frame. You know, is this going to be problematic? Because I do this job because I love it and it's so much fun and I'm really passionate about it. And yes, it's hard work and it can be stressful sometimes, but like, don't put yourself into the stressful situation before you've even started. Yeah. I mean, if you can see that it's going to kind of turn out like that, then, you know, run for the hills.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. I hear you. And tell me something, is going green and being more sustainable something that you think about more often these days?
Yes, definitely. Partly because I live with Gareth and his job is to build renewable energy power plants around the world.
Wow.
So that is his profession and he's done it for many, many years. And so like my house has got an air source heat pump. We've got no gas at all. We feed back to the grid. And so that is, you know, sustainable agenda is huge. I'm starting to use a lot more, sort of antique pieces and starting to try to find things that we can reuse and upcycle and reupholster and, you know, so that we are cutting down on kind of wastage and stuff like that, and looking at eco paints and
Yes.
materials and sustainable materials. And yeah, I think it's clients are wanting that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Clients are a lot more savvy in terms of their sort of footprint on the earth and environmental impact. So I think it's important. I think everybody has a part to play in that. And I think in interiors, it is quite wasteful.
Yes.
So if we can, start looking at the materials that we're using, even on a project, just to include, a few of those pieces and sort of build up over time, it will all have a positive impact at some point.
For sure. And in all of your travels, which architect has inspired you the most and why?
Oh my goodness. Do you know what? It's a dream of mine to go to Falling Water, to go in to see, Frank Lloyd Wright's work. I just love that whole movement. It's like, it looks really simple, but it was really, really difficult to achieve that level of serenity and simplicity. And, all of the, I was reading a fantastic article about Paul R. Williams as well, who was a Black architect who worked in he was born in like 1894 or something, and he lived over in Los Angeles, and he learned to draw upside down so that his white clients didn't feel that they needed to sit next to him, because obviously at that time there was like huge segregation and things like that. But some of his properties that he built in America are just so beautiful in LA, and just that whole kind of aesthetic is just, absolutely gorgeous. So he's somebody that as well that I've sort of almost like recently discovered, I suppose, but looking at his work and also the time that he lived and the struggles that he faced to break into that profession. And
tell me, what is your most preferred part of the entire design process? Which part do you absolutely love?
I love just walking into a space and just seeing the possibility straight away. That initial spark.
Yeah.
When you get the initial, I can see it. I can just stand here and I can just see exactly what it's going to be, because then I just want to rush home to my computer and just get it all down and kind of just see it come to life on the screen. And so just having that, I think the initial spark and I think that's something that most designers have, is that you can see the finished goal even as you're walking out of the initial meeting. You can see the potential in that property. So I love that bit. I also oddly love the rubble stage.
The rubble stage, describe that.
Do you know what? I like going to site
me too.
to see the progression. Like I like, the bigger the rubble pile, the more progression there is on site. We're getting there. I like to see the workings of it, the steels going in, because I like the architecture side of it as well. So I like to see how the reimagined space is going to really improve that family's way of living. Putting in the huge windows to increase the light and stuff like that. So I like the fundamental sections of the process as well. And then obviously the dressing and stuff is fun at the end. But for me, I like the kind of real crux of it.
Yes, exactly. When you get into the dirty parts of it, exactly. When you can really see walls being knocked down or being built up, or you see the big open space in the shell. You can visualize it. Even from shelf stage, I can really visualize a space.
Yeah, because for me, that is what makes the difference to people's way of life. It's not, it's not the soft furnishings and things like that. Those are just like the really nice, pretty bits at the end, which you can switch out. It's actually the fabric of the building.
Yeah. No, I get excited about that too. I love going to dirty building sites as well and getting my hard hat on and my boots.
Oh, it's the best.
I visited a site recently and the roof wasn't on and the client was just like horrified by the state of the place. But I loved it. And I was really able just to imagine where the light was going to come in and how it was going to come in and how they were going to live in all of the rooms at different times of the day. It's just fab. I love it.
Yeah, it's the journey. It's just like the whole journey. Yeah.
I love it. I love it too. And so tell me, what is your favorite place in your home? Where do you like to sit? Have a phone call? Read a book? Where would you go?
I spend, I would say, 90% of my time in my open plan kitchen, dining, living area. It has a view, it has floor to ceiling glass right through to the garden. I just love it. I just sit there. The doors are always open. My cats come in and out. I get to watch all the wildlife. I very rarely go into my office. Gareth normally works in there, but I tend to work at the kitchen island or at my dining table, and it's just such a lovely, light, open, airy space, and so that's probably my favorite place. And I never have the radio on, and I tend to not have any noise. It's just very quiet and very peaceful. I love it there.
Is that just so you can hear your own thoughts? Does that help you kind of get more clarity when you're working, to have that peace and quiet?
Yeah, I think life is just so busy, isn't it? I'm just surrounded by noise all the time. The minute those kids come through the door, it's quite noisy. And I think I was an only child until I was sort of 12, when my mum remarried, and I had then stepbrothers and sisters. So I'm very used and like my own space, and being on my own and having that peace and quiet. And often, I don't know, I have this ability just to almost ignore everything that's going on around me as well, which much to my family's annoyance sometimes, but because I will be working in their kind of space and anything could be happening, things falling down and clattering. But if I'm in SketchUp, for instance, like the world could be falling around, and I'm in SketchUp. I can't. I'm drawing a property, so I just get so immersed in it.
Yes, that's amazing. That's great.
But I do like the peace and quiet. I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, people get lost in social media, and that's just been like a huge force in everyone's lives and everyone's homes. And how does social media fit into your life and into your family's home?
Well, funnily enough, I had a meeting this morning because I need a new social media manager, because I don't enjoy it. I'm not very good at it, and I'm the first to admit that. And so I do need somebody just to take it over and deal with it for me. It's, obviously it's part and parcel of what we do. It's an incredibly important tool for us with not only the charity, but with work as well. I use it for those purposes. My kids are not allowed to be on social media, much to my 13-year-old's slight annoyance, although when she then sees all of her friends having massive fallings out because of it, she then thanks me for keeping her away from it. Yeah. So she's quite a sensible girl, really. But, we try to keep it to a minimum. I do get lost down a rabbit hole in Instagram and things like that. And I'm trying to now, or I'm going to try to kind of put my phone in another room.
It's hard to do that.
It's so hard because I actually quite enjoy having a little scroll and seeing what everyone else is doing. And I find it actually quite inspirational as well. Yeah. To look at other, my Instagram is just basically full of interiors. It's really boring. And everything I watch is with regards to interiors and building as well. So my friends are always like, lockdown, Netflix and chill. Did you watch this? And I was like, no, I watched, For the Love of Kitchens by Duvall. It was like, I just watch home programs all the time. But yeah, I need to spend less time on it probably. Yes. But it is a fantastic tool, but I'm not the best. And so I will be handing it over to somebody else.
And what one piece in your home holds the most special memories for you?
Do you know what? That's actually a really, really difficult question because I gutted this house. And so everything in it is basically like new. But I have got in my front room, I've got some beautiful sort of African statues that was given to me by my mum, but actually her mother gave them to her. So they're really lovely pieces. I also have sort of a teddy bear that I had when I was born, and my husband has his teddy bear from when he was born, and my daughter sleeps with them every night. on her bed. So she has those. So it's like those type of things. And I think, like all of my photograph albums and of my grandparents and things who have sadly passed away, and, the people that we've lost, I think it's those things that hold most value to me, as opposed to, pieces of furniture or artwork or anything like that. It's anything given to us or relating to family, really.
Yeah. It's really, it probably has to kind of connect with you emotionally, really, to be the most special thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you were having a dinner party and you could only invite 4 guests, and they could be from anywhere in the world, even people you've never met before, who would they be and why would you pick them?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. Okay, so, oh wow, I would definitely invite, well, how many people did you say? 4?
4.
Okay, so Michelle and Barack.
Oh my God, me too.
Just because I just felt, I literally cried when he was inaugurated. And
Me
then
too.
and also in a really weird way, and this is actually quite personal, but when I had my daughter, my second daughter, and we didn't know that she was a girl, and I had her, and I said to Gareth, oh my God, what do we have? And he said, oh babe, we're like the Obamas. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm high on pethidine. Like, what is this? I just didn't get it at all. But he was like, no, we've got 2 girls. And I was like, oh, right, okay.
That's so funny. Except you have 2 cats. I think they just have a dog, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. I think that probably is the only link, tenuous link, is that we both got 2 girls. But yeah, I would love to invite them. Then I would also love to invite, oh my goodness, who else?
Anybody in the world.
Dead or alive?
Yeah, anybody.
Okay, dead or alive. So who would be round my table? Oh my gosh. Okay, so maybe Flojo.
Okay.
I know that sounds really random, but I used to run. I used to run for Wales, and I used to sprint. Wow. Yeah. And I used to sprint. And so for me, again, she was like, I would watch her like when I was little, and like, she was like, I just wanted to be like her. I mean, I wasn't obviously in the end, but yeah, so she was like inspirational in terms of, what she did in athletics, because athletics was actually a massive part of my life when I was, until I was like 19, 20. And then, who else would I love to have around my table?
And who would gel well, like with Michelle and Barack? You got to consider that. But they get on with everybody.
This is true. I know this is so hard because there's so many people to choose from, and I feel like, okay, maybe I would invite somebody like, Oprah is a good one because she just knows everybody, and she's just so interesting, and I think she'd have loads to say. And I know that's a really weird mix of people then. No, she's not weird mix with Brooke, but obviously.
But she would be such a giggle.
She would be a really good giggle. You could literally have her, Gail, and then Barack and
that's
Michelle.
Just the dream dinner party.
That is probably the dream. And then Beyonce would come and like sing for us, and then
my God, please invite me.
Or I could just have Aretha and the old greats come, and that would be it.
What a wonderful dinner party.
Yeah,
and
it would be.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say to my younger self just to go for it. Just to don't second guess yourself. Have that courage and that drive, and don't be afraid just to push yourself out of your comfort zone, I think. And just to do things that really make you happy, rather than trying to please other people or fulfill what other people's expectations are of you. Because until you really, address what makes you really happy and fulfilled, you never kind of will be. So, and just like, don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, I love that. That's it. That's it. That's good advice. I have one little segment which is called the quick fire round of questions. So it's one or the other. Are you ready?
Oh gosh. Okay, yes.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Oh, tea.
Open plan or broken plan?
Broken plan.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Giving or receiving gifts?
Giving.
Text or talk?
Talk.
Sunrise or sunsets?
Sunrise.
Cat or dog?
Oh, cat.
City or country living?
Country.
Home or abroad?
Abroad.
Site visits or office meetings?
Oh, site visits.
Books or digital?
Books.
People or places?
People in places.
Good answer. Interior design or architecture?
Ooh, that's hard. Architecture?
Yeah, okay, good answer. And my final question is Michelle or Oprah?
No. Actually, Michelle.
Just Michelle rules, and she's a Capricorn.
I just love that woman.
Me too.
So much. Like her grace, her poise, her mind. She's just fabulous.
She just knocks
really
it out of the park every time.
Oh, she's just, you cannot help but be inspired and motivated by looking at that woman in the way in which she conducted herself during those 8 years is just something to behold.
For sure. Here. I love her. So I look forward to doing another podcast with you after you've met her.
I feel like I need to, she's on my kind of bucket list, and I'm definitely going to be manifesting that.
You should reach out to her. Like, all jokes aside, you should.
I feel like I should. I feel like when we have some huge event for Uniting Design, I'm going to be like, do you know what, Michelle? I need you to be here.
Yes, you do. Do it.
I know. But when you just know, like, if you meet like your idol, I'll just be like, be like, oh, this is Alex. Like, I'll just be like unable to even speak.
Oh, I just think she will admire you as much as you will admire her. So don't even worry about it.
I've got a little way to go still, but she's right up there. And,
she is. I think she would get behind something like this, and so would Oprah. Actually,
they probably would. I mean, the thing is, I always like to aim high anyway. So I'm like, why not?
Why not?
Why should we not reach out to them, especially if we franchise it over in America?
150 billion%. You have to do it.
Yeah.
So watch this space. I have absolutely loved chatting with you today, and would like to wish you every success in the future, and I'll be keeping an eye on you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to chat with you as well, and it's just like a nice little catch up with friends, isn't it? It's just,
that's
very
what it's
nice.
all about. That's what's on. We get to learn loads about you as well, so it's been really interesting chatting with you, and thank you for chatting with me today and for taking the time out to chat with me today.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.